I want to talk about like fat and weight loss and fat shaming and all that type of shit, right? So we have, first things first, being grossly overweight, excessively overweight, better, I should say. Being excessively overweight and being excessively underweight, for that matter, is not healthy. It's not healthy. Criticizing people for being excessively overweight or excessively underweight, for that matter, is also unhealthy. And what I notice, a lot of what many people like to do is criticize, and it's typically happens to the overweight people, right? But it happens to both, underweight as well. But we'll point out somebody, you know, I suppose a great example of this would be somebody like Lizzo, and we'll say, yo, well, they'll start with like a slick remark about the weight, and then it turns into the, oh, but I want him to be healthy angle, right? They hide behind I want to be healthy angle, but they still will say some slick shit. Or they, you know, they just come across all unforgiving and stern and all that. Like, if you really cared, you would know that that's not the best approach. Okay, emotion precipitates appetite. Okay, emotion precipitates appetite. So if you put in, for lack of a good umbrella emotion term, will be stress. You're basically stressing them out, whether you made them sad, mad, whatever. Put them in the position to defend themselves. That's stressful. And when your body is stressed, the easiest solution it has is to eat anything. Right? And then the thing that you likely will eat, since you've been introduced to it, is some bullshit food to get a dopamine response to balance out the cortisol that this hating ass motherfucker just produced for trying to tell you about your weight. If we seriously don't want to see our brothers and sisters overweight or underweight, we have to really think about our approach. Okay? We have to really think about our approach. And really, I mean, we gotta have some type of empathy, man, like, or sympathy, compassion. Losing weight isn't as simple, although we would like it to be. And technically, this is what it boils down to, but it's not that simple, or that easy, rather. Maybe simple, maybe we could say it's that simple, but it's not as easy. Simple and easy ain't the same thing. But it's not that easy or simple, whatever term works best for you, to just eat healthy. First of all, eating healthy is subjective, because it's like, what is eating healthy? Because there's a lot of bullshit information out there, but fine. It's not just simple as eating healthy and going to the gym. You have to be inspired to do these things. Yes, it's a choice. Everybody's level, making a choice from one person could be much easier than another person making that same choice. It could require a lot more effort. When choices require a lot of effort and willpower, you burn through what's called adenosine triphosphate, ATP. This is basically like your willpower chemical, your energy currency. And we have limited amounts on a daily basis. When we go to sleep, it resets. There's certain diet and lifestyle factors we could do to increase it, but it's not unlimited. And some of our bodies are wired to crave certain foods or nutrients or chemicals or what have you, while many of us aren't. And the worst, so like for somebody who's overweight, it's likely they, you know, it could be some trauma or something they're dealing with, right? When we talk about, basically, I just try to give this simple example. It could be a situation like somebody started eating crazy to make themselves feel better because they went through some type of trauma. They call it emotional eating, but the truth is we're all emotional eaters. If you think about it, like, they'd be like, yo, you're an emotional eater. What other type of eater have you ever heard of? You know what I'm saying? Have you heard of a logical eater? You know what I'm saying? You could say, like, my diet is logical, but I still wouldn't say nobody's a logical. We're all biological eaters, which is emotional eaters. depending on the energy and motion inside of your biology, which inspires you to eat certain foods and when to eat these certain foods and when not to eat these certain foods. So more often than not, the overweight person, especially the woman, but in general, probably has a unbalanced appetite, an unbalanced diet due to some traumas or stress that they're dealing with. And this is the best way they could get that dopamine that they need, because they're not getting it when they put in the work. They don't feel properly compensated for the work. So there is not as much dopamine as it should be. There is a deficit, a deficiency. Okay? It could just be a relationship that they have with somebody that stresses them the hell out. It could be something in particular, that some problem that they've been trying to solve, that they're looking to avoid, and they avoid it by eating it. So now as they eat these foods, right? What's happening every time they consume these foods that they shouldn't be eating, but their emotions have inspired them to eat this way, and it's hard to go against it. Just about all of us are susceptible to this. If not by way of food, then by some other vice, some other habit. Your vice just may not be food. But for many of us, especially in America, since the food is so easily available, it's food. Right? So what happens is that food is typically going to be high in a bunch of saturated fats, bunch of palmitic acid. That palmitic acid starts to hog your cells, which doesn't allow your cells to metabolize the carbohydrates as efficiently, or damn near at all, as it should. So now those carbohydrates stay in your body and they start to turn into sugar, or they start to turn into fat. You start gaining weight. And since your cells aren't able to metabolize them carbohydrates, which is that energy, your body still thinks that you're hungry. And it doesn't have the energy to even get up and move around like that. So you tell somebody overweight to go to the gym, they're not overweight because they don't go to the gym. They don't go to the gym because they're overweight. They're not fat because they eat all the time. They eat all the time because they are fat. Now it started with that choice, which was a hard choice or a wrong or unhealthy choice. And a lot of times, it's out of ignorance. You're not even understanding what you're doing when you got to consuming too much of that palmitic acid. And now that shit then made it to where it rigged your body to not want to move and to consume more calories and to consume the worst type of calories that this country has to offer. And there's plenty of it. And don't worry, because if you get sick, there's plenty of medication that could help you and cause other side effects that'll lead to other illnesses and diseases that have you have more medication that you need to have. You can get caught in the trap, you get caught in the cycle. This is what happens with the majority of excessively overweight people. I was one of those people included. Mindset had a lot to do with me being able to reverse my obesity, to reverse my pre-diabetic position, to reverse my high blood pressure, to reverse my high cholesterol, and my bad skin at the time. Okay? So just imagine if they started eating like that to begin with because of some stressful or traumatic situation, and now here you are telling them something that you don't think they heard before, that they should stop eating like that, or they should go to the gym, or that. Or we think you ain't heard that before? The best you could do is just lead by example and be an inspiration. If you really care about them, if you really love them, like you claim you do. Sometimes people want to bring me into their debates about this type of shit because they know that, I'll be like knowing the shit because I'll be studying and all that. I'm like, y'all only want to be a part of this. Because my point is like, yo, just look at me. I'll show the before and afters. You see what I used to look like. You see what I look like now. I ain't got nothing negative to say or criticize. Yeah, it's a fact that it's unhealthy, but I believe you know that. And we also got to do this because sometimes we're like, yo, the doctor said I'm just fine. Yo, the doctors don't have incentive to tell you the truth all the time in real time. We can't just be believing it. Yo, don't get me started on it. On the doctor, medical hospital shit. Don't even get me started. But yeah, man, we gotta do better than that, man. I gotta check people when they on that whole. It feels like a lot of people. I'm not saying everybody's doing this who I'm not saying everybody who said being fat is unhealthy is doing this, but it is the majority of you. I see the majority of people criticizing people who struggle with their weight and then hide behind the "I love you, I want you to be healthy" card or a blank curtain. And it's like, yo, that couldn't be right. But hey, maybe you didn't know. Maybe you didn't know what I just shared with you. Maybe you didn't know emotional eating was a thing. Maybe you didn't know emotions precipitate appetite. Maybe you didn't know that when you're not feeling love, which can be measured by oxytocin deficiency, that you start to crave sugar. You start to crave more carbohydrates and sweets. And you'll find oxytocin deficiency, aka not feeling love, correlates very high with diabetes. Maybe you didn't know that. Listen, man, we ain't even gotta go into that. But that's my 2 cents for now, man. I just want us to do better. Check y'all on the next one. Freedom over failure.